the Daddy Blogger Roundtable for Space Jam: A New Legacy with Don Cheadle.
Perfect.
Risa Chapnick will be moderating for you today. Please only ask one question, no follow-ups, and please mute after each question. We have 15 minutes. Risa, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you, and Mr. Cheadle, thank you for being here today. We're so grateful.
Glad to be here.
So gentlemen, I'm so glad this is our first dad blogger roundtable that my firm has hosted. So I'm really excited to have you guys here. And I know you all have had a chance to see the movie. So we first wanted to talk about the film. And then if there's time at the end, maybe we can talk about some of those Toon Squad versus Goon Squad parenting win and fail moments. But I'm going to start in on the movie first, since that's why we're all here. So Chris Lewis, would you like to go first?
Wow, I get to go first. Thanks, Don, for being here. It's great to talk to you.
Sure.
You know, one of the questions that I had is that fact that as a father yourself, as a father of daughters yourself, you know, you make a comment in the film that dads don't understand reason, they understand power. And that's a powerful statement. And I guess I wanted to ask a question for you, and it may just be a line, but was there ever a time in your life as a father where that was true, or and how that played out?
I mean, probably. That's one of these are these questions that, as we're all dads, we know sometimes are better answered by our kids, because we go, no, that doesn't apply to me. And they'd be like, yeah, let me tell you this 10 times that apply to you. I'm very fortunate. I grew up with the best man in the world, great father, who also was a clinical psychologist who, you know, worked with families, and, you know, communication was huge. So growing up in my household, we talked everything out. You know, you could air any grievance you had. You had a concern, you had a complaint, we could talk about it. At the end of the day, you still had to do what they said, but, you know, there was a process where it wasn't just sit down and shut up and do what I say. So I've always tried to do that with my kids, for better or worse. But obviously we know that there are always moments in a parent's life when we're like, look, we just got to get in the car and get where we're going. We'll deal with all of that other stuff that you're feeling later, but right now, get in the car. So, you know, I think that obviously it's a line in the movie, and Algie's being incredibly manipulative in that moment, but that's the balance that we're always trying to figure out, right? How to, you know, incorporate all of the things that we want our children to be able to incorporate and have autonomy and have agency, but at the same time, you know, you got to let us put the guardrails up sometimes.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much. Joel, you're next.
Hi, I'm Joel. My blog's Daddy's Grounded. Been doing it for a few years and have been a fan of yours for a while. I was curious, after seeing this movie, my 4-year-old and my 8-year-old both absolutely loved it. I was wondering how the process of this movie was different than the process of making other movies you've been in.
Well, it was really different in the fact that we were working with, I mean, I've worked in movies before where it's the, you know, green screen environment, and you're not sure what's happening around you, and you have to rely on the previs that's, you know, they show you in the storyboards and the conversations that you're having with the directors. But never a reboot of a classic like this. Never something with so much import to people who were fans of the first to go like, you better not get it wrong, you know? And clearly working with LeBron was a huge step up. But also it was really great to get to know Cedric, who plays Dom in this movie. And he's such a good kid and has his head on straight. And for all of us dads and parents out there, it was really encouraging and wonderful to see how close he is with his family, and to have them there the whole time, have his mom there all the time, his dad there a lot of the time. And I just met his grandmother, and, you know, it's just, it's sweet to see a kid who's coming into a business and an environment that could really like spin your head around and you could lose your way, to have a strong base, and I think he's gonna be all right. And I think he's a great actor. We had a lot of fun together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Creed Anthony. Captain, it's all yours.
You're muted, Creed.
Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm a middle school teacher and I've done this hybrid thing. So I've been practicing talking while muted. Don, thanks for having us, first of all.
For sure.
And I've laughed with you, cried with you, been entertained by you on the screen for so many years. So to be able to chat with you, it's a delight. So first of all, thank you for your work. I guess my question would be, I'm a dad now I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son, and they're doing all kinds of sports, right? And I think when you first become a dad, you have an idea of where you think they're going to go, and then they go in completely different realms, and that's cool. So what advice would you give to a new dad? You know, as an English teacher, one of the things I look at all the times are the recurring themes within a story. And that idea of do you is repeated over and over again. What advice would you give to a new dad, to kind of foster that idea of a kid doing you and finding what that you is?
Well, I think, one of the things that's always been helpful for me when you cannot be in your reflexive brain, which is hard not to be in, but you have to recognize your reflexes, which are very often about you and don't have anything else to do with, don't have to do with other people. You think it's something else, but it's usually you. Before you're going to try to counsel your kid or do whatever, try to think about yourself when you were that age. Try to think about when you were standing there looking at your mom or your dad, how you wanted that communication to work and how it would have worked better. Because, a lot of times we're trying to stick stuff in, as opposed to, now forgive me for this, whatever I'm gonna say, but, the root word of education is educe, right? Which means to draw out. It doesn't mean to shove in. So when you're doing your best job as a parent, I think what you're really doing is pulling from them the thing that they're already going toward, as opposed to trying to, course correct and force them into certain places. So I think for all new parents, try to talk to your kid in a way that you would have wanted to be spoken to at that age, and try to think about how you would have best taken in, the information. And often it'll change your calculus on what it is that you're trying to do. And sometimes you realize the best thing to do right now is not to say anything. The best thing to do is just nod and shake your head when they go, "This is terrible," not go, "Well, maybe the teacher had a bad day." It's like, you didn't want that when you were a kid, when you said my teacher's a jerk. You wanted somebody to go like, "Wow, that's tough that your teacher's a jerk. That must be hard in that situation." You want somebody to stand next to you on that, not to try to talk you out of your feelings. So that's something that, it's good to keep reminding yourself to put yourself in their shoes before you try to jam something in there.
I feel like you need your own parenting podcast, Dawn. I feel like I'm learning a lot here. Sean Burgess.
Trial and error.
Sean, go for it.
Hi, Don. This is Sean. I'm here with That's at LA. I'm also a fellow drummer and I'm a music educator. And the question I wanted to ask you is, children are always teaching us lessons on how to be better parents. What is one lesson your kids taught you?
I think, it's like not dissimilar to this movie. It's, that trial by fire of when your kids are headed someplace and you're looking at that going, that's not great. That's probably not going to work out. You kind of have to let them do that. You kind of have to let them fail. I think a lot of times our job is to provide the springboard and the cushion and some Band-Aids and Bactine when that happens, but you got to let them go out there and fall on their face sometimes. That's how you learn. You know, I used to say to my kids, don't go out there and make mistakes that you can't get you out of, and I can't get you out of. You know, you're a drunk driver and you go hit somebody in a car and kill somebody. It's like, that's on you. Daddy can't do anything for that. So try to avoid the big, stupid, calamitous mistakes, but you got to let them make the little dumb mistakes. Cause you know, that's how we got through it. You know, I mean, it's surprising that, I don't know about you guys, but I think about some of the things that I came through. I'm like, I'm surprised that I lived. And I remember repeating some of them to my dad after I was an adult. And he said, you know, I don't really need to know everything that you've done in your life. You know, we're good. You made it. You're here. We're good. You don't have to share all of that. Thank you. So that's also a good tip. You don't have to share everything.
Words to live by, definitely. Tim Burns, you're up next.
Hi, Don. Tim Burns from ageekdaddy.com. Thanks for having us here today. Sure. Hey, a big dynamic in this movie is that LeBron wants his son to follow in his footsteps and possibly be a big basketball star. But his son really has a focus on a passion for video game creating. And there seems to be a conflict of, you know, is he going to follow in his dad's footsteps or go down his own path? Have you ever had that experience with your kids? And what are your thoughts for dads who might find themselves in that sort of position?
Well, again, you know, I have not been in that spot. My kids now are 26 and 24, and you know, have started to. My oldest is, you know, working in the business, not from my behest or anything. Just had that desire to do that, and my youngest is kind of trying to figure it out. What she wants to do. And I'm just like, just do something, you know, and sometimes just taking those steps puts you on a path, and you may realize like, oh, this isn't the path I want to be on, and I want to be on this other path, which is fine. You know, people shift and change what they want to do all the time, all the way up still, you know, late stages of their lives. But it's just important, I think, to step out on something and not worry about failing. You know, it's like, just start. And it's tough for parents who have a specific goal set out for their children. I grew up, you know, talking about, you know, you were talking about being a musician, Sean being a drummer. It's like, I grew up playing music and playing with some kids who were forced to do it. And almost every one of them, to a person, as soon as they got old enough to decide they didn't want to do it, they quit. Because, you know, that's not really following your passion. That's following your parents' passion. And they were gifted. They were really good. But they were like, I'm not going to keep doing this. I didn't want to ever do this. So I think the real thing is to just hold your breath and be there and go. You know, I just want to set the table for you to find what it is that you want to do. And hopefully you'll find your passion, because one of the saddest things, I think, would to be a parent of a kid who's just had a life full of regrets. That would be terrible if my kid came back to me and said, I didn't do anything I wanted to do because I was just trying to please you. It's like, oh, that's a terrible legacy.
Thank you. That was so great. Art, how about joining us? We only have a couple minutes left, so I want to try to get everyone in.
Everybody can get it. Don't worry about it.
Thanks, Art. Eddie here for the Art of Fatherhood. Don, love the hat. You were great in this movie. Of course, love seeing you play heroes, but playing the villain role, man, you nailed that to a T. Karina mentioned like the whole idea of like, do you, right? And there are things that we always want to pass on to our kids, but LeBron learned a lot of lessons in life about himself, about maybe I'm kind of pushing him to this direction, right? So for you, with your kids, I know you said that, you know, they're older and all that. What is something that your kids have taught you about life or about yourself in general, just as, you know, being a dad?
I've just gotten so much. I mean, I've gotten plenty of consternation from them too, but I've just gotten a lot of joy from them. Like, this is so funny. Just this morning, I texted my kid this thing about, I saw online this woman who's 106 years old, and it said something like, oh, I got to find it because she just killed me. The meme, it's a 106-year-old woman, and she's talking about this longevity, and it says, eat for nutrition, not for taste. Do what you need to do, not what you want to do, and don't leave out your daily exercise. Love yourself. And I sent that as a meme to my kids and my goddaughter and my wife. And my oldest writes back, imagine not doing the stuff you want to do for 106 years. I was like, okay. And I just sent a meme with sending up the white flag, surrender. I was like, imagine ever conceding any point to your dad ever. So that's how we go back and forth nowadays.
Love it. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, two more. Tobin, it's all you.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Don, love the movie, big fan. But
Thank
I'm worried about you, okay? Are
Please.
you ready to walk the streets and have every 4 or 5-year-old to 10-year-old say, that's the dude that kidnapped LeBron James and took on Bugs Bunny? Are you ready for that?
I think I could take on a 10-year-old. I hope there's not a lot of teenagers like feeling that way, because those dudes are scary. You got to watch the teenagers. No, it's funny. Somebody said that to me. I didn't really even think about that. You just take a role and you're like, okay, I'm going to have fun. And then I was doing one of these and they said, yeah, my kids, like, you really scared them. They're not really cool with what you did. I'm like, oh, wow, wait a minute. Maybe I can win them back on the Disney Plus War Machine show. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The road is long. The road is long.
Sergio, you're it. Thank you for joining us.
I'm so glad I made it. Thank you for your time, Don. Risa, thank you for letting me in on time for you guys. How are you?
Who's that with you?
Say Leilani, say hi.
Hi.
Hey, Leilani.
I'm with DallasJubilation.com. My question is more basketball related because you have a history of basketball throughout your whole life. I know you played very young, and then you played with Obama, you played with Clooney, you played with, I'm sure, with more people than you've listed. And I know this conversation has to come up. Is you were the GOAT, right? You're the GOAT. So the idea of the old school to the new school, obviously knowing Space Jam, like Space Jam was big for me. And obviously, and I actually played with the movie like 3 days ago, so you could see both and have that comparison. But it's always that idea of how different you see the league now, with the difference in obviously athleticism, but rules in terms of play and the way it moves. How do you see it? Like, I know it's a big conversation.
Yeah. But it is a lot. It's a lot different. And I know everybody, one of the questions, they're like, LeBron or Michael, would Michael have done as great now in this era? Would LeBron have done better in that era? Like, who would have done what? And we can play this game all day. The real answer is, who knows? None of us,
Right.
But I imagine in an era where you could basically punch a person in the face or tackle them as they went through the hole, and it would just be a common foul. It wasn't heck, I don't know how LeBron would fare in that era. He's 100 pounds heavier than me and a foot taller than me, and there's no fat on the dude. So he probably could battle and be all right in there. You're 260, 6'8", you're going to be fine. But it's different. And, conversely, if Michael played now where they can't hand check and you can't do any of that stuff, and he was just free to go to the rack, he was already like averaging 40 points a season. What would he be averaging if you couldn't touch him? Let's be fair. You almost couldn't touch him anyway. But if you really couldn't touch him and you really couldn't hand check, I don't know. He'd score 70 points a night. It'd be ridiculous. But you can't compare them, Okay. Although we want to, we can look at stats and compare stats. We can look off the court and talk about who they are off the court. And in some ways, really no comparison in my mind about what they've done as far as in their communities and for people. But at the same time, these are just things that are fun to what if, because the truth is they're both insanely amazing and one of one, and either one of them, the impact that either one of them had on the league can't be compared.
Cool. Thanks for that. I appreciate it.
And that's a wrap. Thank you all so much. Don Cheadle, thank you for being here and supporting this movie. And thanks to all of you dads. You were amazing. This was by far my favorite conversation.
Dads.
Don't forget to tell everybody to see the movie July 16th in theaters or on HBO Max. Thanks you guys.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. We appreciate your time, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks.
Team, please cut. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Please exit.